Yo, dog, Katie Boucher here, the Long War. Tonight, joined by my partners in crime, Wyatt Turk and Mike Haspil. What's up, guys?
Yo,
Greetings and felicitations.
Of course, Rob is not here because we have the Nova previews happening, I think, live at this exact moment while we're recording the podcast. So we're going to see if we can, in the second act of the show, glean any insight from parallelly streaming alongside their asses. And maybe Rob can send us some information. But we have other things to talk about tonight. Haspel's in here. He's got his Imperial Agent Codex. I saw that picture on Facebook, of the original one and the new one.
Yeah,
And do you see, of all the Photoshop I've taught you over the years, did you notice
yeah.
the crude? That is, I mean, as good as they can do, because the original Inquisitor on the cover, that's all a painting, right?
Mm-hmm.
They cropped him out of the painting, put him on the cover of the new book, which has the more graphic set background, like, they perfectly cropped him out. But there's elements of the art that you really can't crop, like his halo glowing, right? His halo is emitting glow, and you can see it through the halo and see environment behind him, right? If you look, whoever did the crop job said, you can't crop this, and they kind of just oversaturated and added yellow glowing and even like glued up his face a little bit. You notice that?
Yeah, I did.
Like, so I'm just like, you couldn't get a new one. You just couldn't get a new. Like, where's your painters at, dude? Where's your digital artists at, man? You got AI art, dude. Come on, man. So that I found that to be silly.
Yeah, I liked it just because of nostalgia. I'll be honest. I was just like, oh, Demon Hunters are back. Yay.
Yeah, I mean, it is nostalgic. I think I have one of our old 40K Wrecking Creed bowling shirts that has that like hammer and Aquila, I think, that you made for us.
Yeah. Way back, yeah.
Yeah, way back in the day. Got it. My mom kept it in the closet for like 10 years.
Yeah, I still have it somewhere.
I remember you calling me that day to ask me how to do something in Photoshop
Yes.
when you were working on that design.
And then you told me how to do it, and it was like really super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Well,
Right? And I got really mad because
you've been brute forcing it.
well, because like in 2001, I made my own Star Wars movie and drew, I don't even know how many, 11 minutes of lightsabers by hand, frame by frame. And then when you showed me that trick, I was like, wait, I could have just done this. How long did I have been a feature in Photoshop? And then I looked, and it was like it's always been a feature in Photoshop, and I was like, I have wasted my life.
uh,
uh,
oh man. So we'll talk about Imperial Agents. We'll see where we slot that in. After the commercial break, we'll see if we can stall long enough to get some previews in here.
I get it on my second monitor right now, taking notes.
There we go. So why don't we just start the show with a legendary segment and roll out to the Cave of Wonders and touch nothing but the land.
Which mystery would you rather be solved and come to light? Who was DB Cooper, and did he survive jumping out of that plane? Or who killed Kennedy?
I'll let Kenny go first.
This is a bad one for me. I don't care about either of these situations. Like, I mean, let me see. How can I use this information to annoy as many people as possible? Which one has more conspiracy theories wrapped around it, Mike?
Who killed Kennedy? For sure.
For sure. That'll probably be my leading decision then, because I'd like to, because there's entire organizations of people who like that's their hobby, right?
Yeah.
And so I could just take one off the list, or shockingly confirm. But yeah, also since he was a president of the United States, that also should weigh into my decision making a little bit. But
Yeah. So for me, I think I would pick JFK. Like, who killed JFK? I think yeah, Kara Quinn just mentioned it. I don't think he survived though. but Cooper at least survived the initial thing because there was a story of people like years later finding bags of cash in the woods. And I don't they attributed it to the whole DB Cooper thing. So we don't know if he actually made it out and survived, and there were rumors that he was like living in a cabin or something.
Right, but the mystery would come to light. Like we would know all
Right,
the
right.
facts.
So I'm reminded of I think it was the Chappelle show where it's like an asteroid's going to hit the earth or something. I don't remember the exact scenario, but they were just like you can ask me any question, I'll answer it. And they go, "Who killed JFK?" And he says, "It was Lee Harvey Oswald with a magic bullet." And he's like, "That's right. We've known about magic since like 1850."
Oh.
It's pretty funny. So I don't know. It's I would pick JFK because I think if you know the answer to DB Cooper, it's kind of a one shot, doesn't change anything. But if you know the answer to JFK is not the official story, that carries deep repercussions
Hmm.
um, for the entire nation, for the world, right?
Yeah.
So I would want to know that.
I like that. You went with like, so, I went with the how many people can I annoy?
But I
But
would make you, if I was the genie, I would make you a Cassandra where you would know the answer and you could tell everybody and no one would believe
fuck,
you.
you'd make me into one of those assholes.
You'd be like, "No, for real, this is what happened." And everyone would be like, "Get
I know who
out."
shot Kennedy, and they're like, yeah, so does everybody else, dog.
So
Shut the
does
fuck up.
everyone else. Shut up.
Yeah, that ruined it for me. God damn
Alex Jones would be calling you on your bullshit.
it. That'd be a good way to monkey paw me.
Yep.
Uh, bro. So news wise, Rob didn't leave us with any paperwork, which is fine.
No.
Personally, my news, next level painting news, is that I've opened up 4 sponsored content commission slots for the rest of the year, which is a new program I've been doing. Maybe
Wait,
some
wait,
people.
what?
It's a program I launched at the end of last year. So
Mhm.
instead of just painting models for sponsors endlessly and then like auction them off, I've been just letting people take those slots
Oh.
to get, because I have a commission since 2016, and so
Mhm.
it's the same price. It's the same pricing point with this, also the same luxury experience of like if you have like a new, Instagram channel, I'll plug it just like in any of my sponsors while curating the content, and then sending you the model back as a visual learning aid because this isn't a sale. To be clear, like this, like I don't pay sales tax. This is a service,
Correct. Yeah.
and so I've done a few so all the content I've done this year, like the Kragnos, Lord of Change,
Mhm.
Paramount,
Mhm.
Cypher, all that. That's all sponsored content. I'm working on this new work, so I've got 4 spots left in my calendar for 2024. So put that at my newsletter. I put that on Facebook, just letting people know it's first come first serve. 4 openings to get in on this. Is basically the only way to get a model for me in the modern era. So that's my news update.
Is there like a limit on the size of the model or something?
I mean, not really. There's a cost association.
Right, cost
It's
associated. So if I sent you the Silent King,
hmm?
it's not going to be cheap.
Yeah, it's my normal rates that I survive on.
Oh,
So like
okay. Okay. No,
so
that's
it's
cool.
it's roughly $500 for most
Mhm.
infantry sized models and mounted infantry, and that can go up to like around a G even for how big
Oh, yeah.
for how big, because like models like the Lord of Change, that was like 8 weeks. That was like 8 weeks.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
So like yeah, that's pretty much the price scale is like 500 to $1,000. But
It's pretty sick. That's good.
thanks, man. So that's my only update for next level painting personal news. You got some news on your side? Why did you went to any tournament information, teams? What you got going on?
So yeah, I went to Hammer of Wrath tournament last weekend up in Orange County,
Orange County, I've been there a few times.
Squad Marks HQ. So yeah, I gotta give a shout out to Squad Marks. They're uh it's like a pseudo store slash gaming club,
Yep.
and kind of like a war chief style thing, if you guys remember that. So it was really cool. The tournament was great. People were dope. Had a lot of fun there, and picked up some Squad Marks stuff for my Champs Cup army because I do need a lot of movement trees. So
Mhm.
that was cool to get. Won an award for painting, which was tight. Got a little combat patrol box for free, so that's always nice to have.
That's nice. Very good.
Don't know, it's Space Wolves, but I don't know if I'm gonna start Space Wolves. Uh
Come on.
I toy with the idea. I kind of look at them from time to time. I look at the Blood Angels and the Dark Angels and the Space Wolves, and I'm like, there's qualities to each that I can get. But I think if I was ever gonna be like Ultramarines on the shelf, I kind of always come back to Dark Angels.
Mm.
And some of the new Dark Angels models are like really cool. Like the new Deathwing are sick, and those Inner Circle companions are super cool. So I don't know. Like I'm in a phase right now where like I am not touching Space Marines for a good while. I have my philosophy is that like every so many years I have to play something that is completely different than what I'm used to, because with so many facets in 40K, by playing armies that function very similarly to each other, right? So like Space Marines play differently than Chaos Space Marines, play differently than World Eaters, play differently than Death Guard, but their stat lines and everything are still very, very similar to each other.
And they have, a
Like
lot of
they're
times they have a different name for the same thing.
right.
Mhm.
And like it's not too different. So every so many years I play something completely different, opposite than what I've been playing. And I think that keeps me kind of on an upward trajectory of being good at the game and getting better and like a more well-rounded player. So right now I'm on Eldar and Ari, and I also have Votan in the back pocket. I think I'm gonna stick with them for a while.
Yeah, I concur. I'm reminded of an anecdote back when I was in North Carolina talking to like Brian Delgado, old friend of mine from North Carolina. Uh, it was sixth edition, which was a very controversial edition with the Ally Matrix in the throes of Taldar, right, with Battle Brothers.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I remember brute forcing making like my chaos list work, making this Blood Angels list work. I was working like scheming in the lab with these guys, and I had a conversation with him where he was like, "Yeah, but why do you keep like? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that?" And he had this, and he was winning. He was on an upward trajectory of winning a lot of games. So he like kind of a meteoric rise in skill, apparently, right? And I was like, well, my feelings on it, right, is that if you can re-roll everything and ignore cover on everything, you're not actually getting better at the game, and this won't last. So like I'm getting better at the game for however long this iteration lasts, and you're getting worse at it. He was like, I mean, he was like, yeah, I think he's like, I can't deny that. Like it was like never, it stuck in my head where it's like I could detect something was wrong with the ally matrix, and it's like this will change, and so I'm not gonna worsen my ability to play the game. And I still did pretty good at sixth edition, despite that, you know. But I agree 100% what you're saying.
Mhm.
Kara Quinn says seventh edition was the best fight me. I love it because I mean
Uh
I love all editions of Warhammer 40K. I've never not had fun, period, since the first day. So having said that, you do have to rank them, right?
mhm.
Like you have to rank them. They're all good. I've always had fun. There's never been a time I didn't. But if I had to rank them, you know, seventh has got to rate one of the lowest.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
For
It's
me.
got to rate one of the lowest, and I've
Mm.
talked about this because sixth edition was broken because of
Sixth edition is my least favorite
but
edition.
but here this like this I think this will change will blow your mind on it. So there was only one critical error with the entire edition. It was actually an innovative book with a whole bunch of new, really well applied ideas and an ally matrix. One broken mechanic. The ally matrix for Battle Brothers. That was it. That where they could share USRs. Remember?
I do.
That's what
that's not what I would say was broken.
That's what led to all the horrible interactions on the tabletop, where people could jam nonsense together and create super not fun feel bad scenes.
And D weapons.
Yeah, D weapons were still in 7th though. So
true. But they were introduced in 6th.
So Taldar and all that nonsense that we got, the ally matrix is what busted it. Okay. So GW didn't have the mechanic that they have now, which is hotfix, disregard Battle Brothers entry and change it to this. That would have been the first week.
Right, yeah.
So we would have been in 6th edition the entire length we were in 6th and 7th combined. Right? One fix. So instead they had to go back to the printers, re-release, do this. And it looked good for a while. 7th looked good for a while. But 7th led into the formations era.
Right.
Of Warhammer 40K, where it was just how many extra units do I get? How many extra units do I get? Do I have 5,000 points and you have 2,000 points?
That shit was insane.
So by the end of 7th, I started to realize like, God, I kind of miss 6th now because the only thing broken
that era of 7th was easily the worst one.
I'd rather play against somebody who had a Taldar reroll everything nonsense list than a guy who just literally has a war convocation with 700 points of free war gear.
Maybe I prefer 7th because I did better in 7th. Like the armies that I was playing in 7th.
I would say that most people who miss
what
editions,
were you playing in 7th? What were you playing in 7th?
Space Wolves and Grey Knights.
I mean,
and Necrons, what I'm playing now.
But you weren't doing Death Star nonsense outside of like a Thunderwolf Cav, right?
Thunderwolf Cav, Death Star.
Yeah, that wasn't even a top tier Death Star. So you were just having
but it was like one of the reasons when I think back, one of the reasons I really loved Wolfen was because they could survive and still hit you from D weapons. Mm-hmm. Like they wouldn't survive, but they got a chance to hit you.
No, you just had a good time. I mean, like, because you weren't even playing top. Like the Bark Star was the top tier Death Star of the edition. That was
maybe
that was you didn't even have that. You had just a good list with good fundamentals.
Yeah. Yeah, 7th, the reason I say I still like 7th is because Horus Heresy, which I adore, is mostly 7th.
That's
it's
fair.
like fixed 7th.
Yeah, that's
with some additional
no formations.
Newer stuff that they put. Yeah, no formations.
But another big problem with 7th was and we have a solution to it, was that's actually what started the ITC mission pack.
Yes,
because the game became this in 7th. Let me play you for 3 hours. And then you at the end will take your Eldar jet bikes, 3-man, 51-point Eldar jet bike squads out of reserves, move them 56 inches and win.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, so the game became so stagnant, so stale, so almost futile. If you were like a classic, if you can't beat them, join them. Like you kind of had to play these things by the end. So I still enjoyed it. I went to all the tournaments, still had fun. But I have to kind of rate it low because of the formations problem and how it was so, the mission structure was so bad and the player experience was so bad. It's actually what made Frontline Gaming the company they are today.
Right. Yeah, it was like, but 6th is also, to give us some credit, 6th was when we had to do the whole bringing the hobby back campaign.
Yeah, but it was also a blip. So it can't rate under 7th.
Right. It wasn't long because it sucked so badly.
Yeah.
I just know that a bunch of the veteran players that, like, when I had first gotten into it, right, they quit during 6th. Like they all left.
Well, that's what prop War Machine up.
Right. And they were all playing War Machine. So you'd go to like Tacticon or Genghis Khan, and the 40K tournaments went from 80 people affairs to like 25 people during 6th edition.
Yep. And one of the reasons I didn't hate 6 that much was because that's when we invented the Super Friends list. And and we beat it. We designed it to smash Taldar, and it did. Mm-hmm. It did. So like I was like, problem solved. This is an easy problem to solve because all they have is unlimited reroll. So I just need unlimited saves.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't matter in 7th
No.
But it's hard to rate it a worse than 7th when it was just really bad for like a couple weeks versus like 7th, you know. But
7th lasted a long time, yeah.
either way, like, you know, you gotta, they're all good, they're all fun. I had the worst time of it in 4th. Like but 4th was not a bad addition objectively. It's just my personal, I struggled the longest to
I
find
think
my
I
Seagrams.
lost every game I played in 4th for probably a year and a half. Because I was playing Grey Knights. And it was just like they couldn't do
I couldn't do anything in 4th, yeah.
And then it's like I rolled in a squad of Space Marines because the Grey Knights could ally with them in a limited way. And it like changed the game.
Mhm.
And I was just like, huh.
You were
look at
kind of
this.
you were kind of new to the competition scene too, so you were still like sticking to your like lore guns pretty heavily.
Well, it was
edition.
interesting too, and I do have Tim Baptist to thank for this. When I transitioned into 40K, and I'd been playing 40K, but I didn't know it was 40K because I was playing Space Hulk, and I had all the expansions for Space Hulk, and my Grey Knights came from Space Hulk. And it's like, but when he got me, I was playing Lord of the Rings, the strategy battle game. And then, but no one else was playing that thing. So I was just mostly painting and making dioramas and stuff.
Yeah.
And he dragged me we went up to the store in Denver. I saw the Demon Hunters Codex and was like, you know, who are these guys? And the store owner's just like, oh, you know, they're the Demon Hunters. They come from the Ordo Malleus. And as soon as he said that, I was just like, Order of the Hammer? I'm in. Done. And then he walks me over to get the miniatures, and I see the Demon Hunters, like the original 3rd edition metal Grey Knight Terminators, which were the sickest models I'd ever seen. And I was just like, I'm still using them.
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, I am so in. And then we had a RTT like 2 weeks from then. And Tim was just like, oh, we're signed up for the RTT. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know anything about this game. I haven't painted anything. He's like, you got 2 weeks to paint your army. And it was like a 1,500 point RTT. I painted all my stuff as fast as I could, and I lost 3 games in a row. But at the end of that day, I knew how to play 40K.
That's how it worked, bro. School of hard knocks, son.
It was, and to this day, that's what I would advocate to somebody who wants to play the game. I'd be like, find a small tournament. And in fact, Gamers Haven does this every time there's a new edition. They host a tournament like within 2 weeks of that new edition dropping. And this year they did it with Combat Patrol because the rules aren't that different.
No.
And you play 3-4 games of Combat Patrol, you got the game down. You got the core mechanics. You know what's different about 10th than 9th or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
You're just right in there. You're tossed into the fire. But at the end of the day, you know how to play the game.
Yeah, 4th was a top tier tournament edition back in an era when we didn't have the kind of digital support we have now. So you got it rated kind of high because of that. Because the way they simplified terrain so abstract, it was a tournament renaissance because we were playing off felt markers, which is numbers on them because we had levels. It was the first time we had something like that. And then Kirby hated the fact that it was so good for tournaments. And then they went to the cinematic terrain of 5th, which is incredibly problematic for about the first year of 5th because everything was true model on a site nonsense. But we had a billion tournaments in 4th just crop up out of nowhere because you just needed a shoebox full of felt. Level 1, level 2, level 3. Like, let's go. And so it was a renaissance.
GW had really good prize support back then. Like they actually had hardware. Like trophies.
Yeah, really sick trophies.
I still got a couple.
Oh yeah, like the Griffin, the fucking Inquisitor with the hammer, all that shit, dude.
Yeah, I never got those because Ron Santoni would always win overall.
That fucking
I was
guy.
like, so I always won like best sportsman or best painted.
5th, I remember I had a showdown with him because when I was the new guy in town. And like I met you, and then I was like, "Who's the big dick bandit around here?" And everyone said it was Ron. So then I can run into him and play him on an open game night, and we became friends. And did we all go to Adepticon one year together?
Yeah.
It was a good guy. But yeah, fifth was a rocky start, but it ended up being a really shelf stable tournament edition too. But a lot of monotony by the end. Like it was time for us to leave it. You know, but 8th is the first new edition of 40K since 3rd. So it's almost
Yeah.
like, it's almost incomparable. It's like 8th is what started the new Renaissance too. So
Hmm.
I had to say like, you know,
Yeah. For the
no,
I
first
really
time.
dig 10th. I
yeah,
really like where the game is right now. Um,
Yeah, 10th is fine.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think this is the first time that I'm actually one of those people that's like, I kind of miss an older edition. It's never before has that been the case.
yeah.
But I do miss, and this is specific to a not like the edition overall, but like an era of the edition, which was like the last leg of ninth edition, like the last year of ninth edition, I felt was like about as perfect as you could get 40K. And I think that 10th edition, while still fun, I'm having a good time, stripped away a lot of that. And I do kind of miss that.
Yeah.
Like,
It stripped away a little too much.
yeah, I feel like even after the game balancing that's happened since the start of 10th and now, there's still a very large disparity of just haves and have nots, right?
Mhm.
Because like we don't really have combos anymore, right? Like ninth edition was the era of like sick combos that you make in your list and like pull off on the table, right? Like I have this guy and this guy and this unit with these couple of stratagems, and I'm going to do this super cool thing that's unique, and I have to pull off this combo.
Mhm.
Whereas now it's just like, do you have XYZ? No, then your army sucks, and there's nothing you can do about it
Yeah.
until hopefully you get a codex that's written by one of the two teams that is making fire codexes. Otherwise, you're like, are you going to get like a good codex, or are you going to get Gene Stealer Cole, right? Like, and I don't know, it doesn't feel great.
Yeah. One of the things I personally did not like about ninth, and it's because I didn't play that much, were the too many stratagems. I was just like, it wasn't my stratagems. It was that I have to know what everyone else's stratagems are so
Yeah,
that I don't walk into their Magic the Gathering freaking
and
ridiculous
I can
combos.
understand that. It's actually kind of its own problem too, right? Because like the issue that we would run into with dexes is like you have a swathe of stratagems, but like four really matter.
Mhm.
And it's like that was the thing. It was the two big things. Like the one great downfall of ninth edition was faction secondaries and too many your codex power being reliant on hot stratagems.
On your
And so
wombo
that was a
combo.
right. And so that was the thing that everybody wanted. It was like your codex comes out. Do I have good stratagems? And are my faction secondaries good?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
if like you didn't get one or both of those, you're kind of like, man,
Yeah.
this sucks.
So that was the have and have not of ninth was, do I have an OP, easily scoreable faction secondary? And
Right. But I mean, like, even if you have bad faction secondaries and your stratagems are kind of mid, your
Mhm.
army could still be
Yeah.
quite competitive. Like, look at Tyranids at
Yeah.
the later stage of ninth edition, right? They were pretty bog standard as far as like stratagems and bad faction secondaries. Still a very competitive army.
Yeah, notoriously bad secondaries. Like, so yeah, but yeah, it's yeah, I agree. I'd say like ninth was like the perfection. End of ninth, it's hard to compare to beginning of 10th because it was so dialed in,
Mhm.
so dialed in, and so having to go back to index 40K, which I advocate for because as I mentioned before, Mike, the problem when we went from third to fourth to fifth to sixth to seventh is all the same edition of 40K.
Right.
If
Right.
you can
Yeah.
still play a codex from the previous edition, it's not a new edition. It's an update. It's at most. So they when they launched eighth and they said just like when they launched third, and they said we're going to index and then we're going to do it like it. That is what we needed. And then ninth was eighth 2.0 because we didn't need new codexes. It was like the perfection state of eighth now actualized and dialed in. And then 10th, they went back to a reset, which I always advocate for. I actually kind of like that. You know, like two editions within the same rule set. Let's go. New one. I like that tempo. You know, so 11th, I hope keeps that alive because we do need like sometimes like a fresh reset. And something I mentioned
Yeah.
since day one, which I think is like classic complaining on the internet, be careful what you wish for, is everyone was like, well, I don't understand why they don't just launch without the codexes. This is stupid. This is just a paywall bullshit. And I'm like, that's kind of impossible. That's an impossible ask, dog. You're asking a company to write down a bunch of rules. This isn't programming languages that you can send to everyone and we can run them through software. And this is a physical book that some asshole has to read and physically act out on the table for playtesting. You want the motherfuckers to also write 23 faction books too? In that same, at that same pay, and then you think they're all going to be good? They're going to be so bad, so poorly balanced. So many combos are going to be discovered and on launch that are. It's not like you can't just roll out a hotfix for that, dude. It's a disaster. And so GW kind of listened to them, and the indexes that we launched with in 10th were codexes. They weren't indexes. They had abilities, army rules, and everything, and faction stratagems. They were fucking full on codexes, dude. And
I'm still using it.
Yeah, and it was wildly imbalanced. For like a solid half a year, you could not be Eldar. You could not be Chaos Space Marines. Like,
dude, it was wild.
It was the most imbalanced start ever. Like, so be careful what you wish for. You kind of just like how they did 8th was the best. Full wipe. Here's your big black book, 3rd edition style, with everyone's rules in it. Nobody has rules. Spoiler alert. You just have spreadsheets with characteristics. Go nuts.
Yeah.
Like, better to do it that way. But good walk down memory lane. Any updates on the Nova preview, Wyatt?
Oh yeah. I was just right when you guys were finishing that, they were like, "Oh, here's our big final reveal," and it's so dumb. I'm not even going to talk about it.
Okay, so it's so dumb. We're going to talk about it in the second half of the show. How dumb it is. That sounds hilarious, actually.
Yeah. So I like Blood Bowl. The one Blood Bowl thing they showed off, Chaos Dwarves for Blood Bowl.
That's your spiritual Blood Bowl faction.
It's not actually, but I just think it's cool they're coming to Blood Bowl. At real regular dwarves are my guys in Blood Bowl.
Then you just say that.
No, Chaos Dwarves.
Oh, sorry, forgot. Those are bad guy dwarves, I guess.
Yeah, Forces of Chaos, but dwarves. 40k stuff. Pride Nexus Crusade book soon. Pretty cool.
Okay, cool.
This is a direct quote. Blood Angels between now and Christmas. So I'm sure a lot of Blood Angels fans not happy about that. Because we are getting the army box that includes the codex, and they've shown off a lot of stuff with like coming soon, right?
Right.
And so they're basically saying that like the real release of Blood Angels with like the combat patrol and the other characters and retail release of the codex by itself, which is when you can actually play it in tournaments and stuff, is between now and Christmas.
2025.
That's earlier than you might think, though.
2025.
It's about to be September 1st, October, November. It's about 3-4 months.
But let's take September out of the equation, because let's face it, everyone's going to be playing Space Marine 2. So it doesn't matter. So you just fast forward to October.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that is kind of a long window. Especially if like you're a Blood Angels player that's getting all this new stuff, like new Asterath and new Lamardis and all this, and you're like, I can't even play this.
You're not playing this until January.
Can't play. Yeah, it sucks.
Like straight up.
That's true.
Start of the new year. Starting the new year with Astra Militarum. And they said that there was going to be some big stuff for Deathcore.
Okay.
Followed by Eldari stuff, probably both flavors. And then after Eldari is Forces of Chaos.
Oh, okay.
That's literally all they said. It was like maybe a less than 5-minute blurb talking with Stu Black about that stuff.
Oh, Rob, I think Rob just entered the chat.
Sorry, I did Rob's job for him. Gucci.
Oh, there's Rob. Here he comes.
If he's coming in, he's angry about something.
Oh man, here he is.
He's angry about something.
He's hot. He's looking hot.
He's mad because he stayed up for this nonsense. I can tell.
I mean, that's just work. I'm not. I took a nap.
Dude.
Oh, so do you need me to report the news to you, Rob?
Oh no, I know the news, dude. I was there.
Rob's
I
not
was
mad.
there.
He's
Huh?
disappointed.
Yeah.
All right. Let me here's my first impressions. Like I like Adam Torque, whatever his name is. I think the dude is great, a very cool hobbyist, very involved, has a lot of good things to say about a lot of things. But that was basically a speed run with like no meat. There was no meat. There was barely 15,000 people in there. And all they did was it to me, it's this is obviously the bottom of the barrel for any preview for GW and since they started doing these, 2016, 2017. It seemed very low energy, very fast paced. The Age of Sigmar had no jump cuts showing content. The 40K had a lot of jump cuts showing content, so it's almost like they weren't trying. The roadmaps were non-existent, although in their articles they are showing some roadmaps, some actual roadmaps, which I don't understand why they didn't show those graphics in the videos. Um,
Maybe they didn't have them ready. All this was like pre-recorded. It wasn't
I
live.
I feel like GW is pivoting, and everybody's pivoting in 2014 or 2024, whatever year it is. That's a thing right now. But like, it was just like it was almost like when they talked about the 40K stuff, they were like, oh yeah, so we got Blood Angels this year. Oh, and then early next year we'll have Deathcore Creed. Oh yeah, people and some Eldar stuff, some more Eldar stuff. Like, hey man, you've only been waiting like 30 years, but here's some more Eldar stuff. We've been doing this for like the last 4 years. And and it's almost like they thought that was good enough. They weren't even going to show anything. They're like, "Oh, here's here's a little pittance. Like, here you go. We're not even going to show models. Just hey, full Deathcore Kree line. Here you go. Enjoy." Like, you know what? I enjoyed Deathcore Kree when they were out 10 years ago, when they were from Forge World. Not re reselling us the same shit over and over and over and then smiling about it and just sitting there like this while you're talking to us about it, like it's so casual and you're just so casual and so flippant about it, like. And people, I don't know, I think the stream reacted the very same way, at least the people that were vocal in there. And the fact that it was so low energy and so low attendance really makes me wonder what the actual fuck is going on with them right now, because they've canceled streams, they've switched video presenters. And that dude Lewis was kind of a joke, and you can tell he really wasn't even a hobbyist or into any of this shit. Like, whatever, fine. Like, you gotta have people at some point to like actually do this stuff. But like, that was hard to watch. That was hard to watch. But I don't know what y'all have heard.
I mean,
That's my
it
take.
sounds kind of cringy.
It was, to me, it was very cringy.
I mean, I had the subtitles on since we were also, recording whilst this was going on. So that's what I was kind of looking at. Um, and then of course, like if it's not 40K, I'm kind of like mentally checked out and I'm focusing on talking on the podcast rather than like watching what these guys are saying. Um,
But I mean, that was
so
it. It was a
yeah,
lot of
like
talking.
40K was basically like a nothing interview because obviously like they're not going to ask any questions they don't want answered and they're not going to answer any of those questions in a way that they don't want answered. And so basically 40K was like yeah, Blood Angel stuff is coming.
Yeah,
Everybody's happy about Blood
Wyatt
Angels.
actually started off by saying it was a joke. That's
I mean,
that's what he said. That's how he
Uh,
started.
and so like, and we've kind of been conditioned a little bit, right? Because people are like, okay, well, they're gonna talk about one thing, and then at the end, there's gonna be like a big like stinger, like get hyped for this. Because that's what they've been doing for years. And so everybody was like, okay, well, they straight up told us that like the main focus is gonna be on this new Age of Sigmar expansion stuff, which they did show off a lot of cool new models, like even though I'm not a Sigmar player, I appreciate a lot of the dope models coming out of that. Like there's this new Stormcast character on this like big Raven Griffin thing that looks
yeah.
fucking cool. Uh but I care about 40K. And 40K was basically like recycling all of the stuff they've already said about Blood Angels and saying the full release is happening sometime between now and Christmas, right? So again, not very exciting because as a 40K player and a Blood Angels fan listening to this, you would want them to say, like, oh, it's like maybe month of September is going to be the month of Blood Angels. Like, get ready, get excited. But saying between now and Christmas is like nothing. It's you're telling us nothing, and it kills hype, right? And then basically we're all here for the roadmap, and they're like, okay, starting off the new year, Astra Militarum, followed by Eldari, but showing nothing is very frustrating.
And,
right?
and here's what I think. Judging by the way the previews went and the way the content is right now, I feel like these were filmed very far apart. And I feel like GW doesn't have anything. I feel like GW has kind of lost their way and they're trying to figure it out and they're trying to sort the roadmaps and and that's why they're being very vague and they're being as vague as they can but still saying stuff. And the fact that they didn't have any of these graphics ready for this, and they're just sitting there all smug with their legs crossed and very just talking about stuff we already know. And
Yeah.
somebody, a
That makes
commenter even said,
Rob, that makes sense. I feel like it's being filmed really far apart because back when they filmed it, he wasn't smug. It was a casual conversation about something, right? And now we've
Right.
been now how it looks now is extremely disappointing. Like,
and I don't know what the optics are of this. I don't know who the yes man are. I don't know who reports to who at GW, but this can't happen again. Like, it can't. Like, this is, somebody was even like, if I gave a presentation like that at work, I'd get fired. And then the fact that they started with Blood Bowl and one of the dudes comes back with the different shirt on, and he's like, oh, hey, let me talk to you about whatever the other game was that he's in charge of. Maybe it was Horsehairs. Oh, it's Necromunda or something. Yeah, he just like put a different shirt on. Literally, his hair is the same. He just puts a different shirt on. Let me talk about this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel so I don't want to get too negative about other games, but the reality about Games Workshop is there's two games that gets butts in seats, right? If we're going to use like movie terms, right? Gets people into the store, gets them pulling out the wall. There's two things. It's Age of Sigmar and it's 40K. And it's mainly 40K by a massive, massive margin, right? Like Age of Sigmar is cool. I'm not going to poo-poo on it because it is a cool game. But it is simply a fact of reality that the biggest thing that they produce and the most played game they have is Warhammer 40K. And when they do these previews, people expect hot new shit. They don't expect to see 90% of the 40K segment of this widely previewed or widely
with
hyped
no
up
pictures.
preview of something they've already seen, right? Like every single time, what happens? Oh, preview's coming out. What do you guys think is going to happen? I'm like, oh, well, I hope it's this, or I hope maybe they're going to show up some Emperor's Children stuff. Everybody wants that. Like, and when they don't do that, it's incredibly, like, it's a huge letdown, right? And so, yes, it's cool when Blood Bowl happens. It's cool when Necromunda happens.
Yeah.
But what I referred to, Kenny, as a joke is we were waiting for the big reveal at the end. Everybody's waiting for it, right? And the vast majority of people tuning into this stream, like just simply based on the reality and statistics, are 40K fans. That's the only reason they showed up, is because they're hoping for a big new 40K reveal. And the thing they revealed is new Lord of the Rings shit. And again, not poo-pooing on the game. Lord of the Rings is fucking cool, right? Mike is a fan. I'm a fan. I think we all like Lord of the Rings.
So
However,
was it? I'm gonna break. Like, was it tied in with like War of the Rohirrim?
yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Okay,
I mean,
I
stuff
just
looks
was curious.
And it's like cool, but when you look at people playing games and stuff, that game has not been relevant in a decade.
Nah, people buy, like everyone I know who's into the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game doesn't play it.
yeah, it's based on their IP license, right? Like they have
We buy the models.
they have to keep
Yeah.
producing it to keep the license.
Well,
right. And so like every Christmas
to
they
make it
send
worth
out a like a standing cabinet kiosky thing to all their stores, and it's filled with Lord of the Rings stuff, because typically it's not stocked in Games Workshop or Warhammer stores now, right? They don't shelf stock it. It's not something they do. And when you would get those into the store, it would just sit there the entire holiday season, and you'd have like one or two guys come in to get like one box, and then we'd have to pack it all up and ship it all back to corporate.
Dumpster
Like,
wars.
are there people who play the game? Yes, I'm not debating. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm saying that, like, as far as relevance to what people are doing in game stores on the regular butts and seats, it's Warhammer 40K.
Kara
It's
Quinn
not
says, I've seen it
Lord
played
of the
3
Rings.
times, and I'm old as a rock. More people play Titanicus.
I mean, nobody plays Titanicus anymore.
That's a-
Technically, it's all Legion Imperialis.
Yeah,
But
I used to play Lord of the Rings, but this is, geez, it's so far back.
You
Lord
have
of the
the-
Rings was great.
You have the most
It was when-
prolific collection of painted Lord of the Rings shit of anyone I've known in my whole life, Mike.
I recreated Helm's Deep in
I
my
know.
basement. I built
And I
the
have,
diagram.
and I've known you since 2004. Yet I've never seen a game of it played or you play it.
The last time I played the strategy battle game was so long ago that Adepticon was at the old location
Old
in the
old
hotel.
location. Yeah.
In the hotel that
By the
was
Stevens
across
Center.
from the convention center.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the last time I played Lord of the Rings strategy battle game. I
And you're-
did play War of
And
the
you're the
Ring.
most prolific collector of it I know.
I have hardly anything left.
And so
I
that
got rid of I played Haradrim. And so I got rid of my Haradrim and Easterling army, and to my everlasting regret, my 3 Mumak.
Oh, no.
So if they re-release the Mumak model, I'll probably buy at least one again, because that was a great model to paint. And it was
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
It's
yeah,
very
and again, no, not poo-pooing on the IP, the models. That's why it said
But
It's
it
just
is.
kinda
literally,
like-
it is a
literally,
joke.
everyone I know who's excited about it, we just buy like, oh, here's Treebeard with Merry and Pippin. Like, we buy the model. We don't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're not building armies.
But
We're
this
Yeah,
not-
so you
this
have
is-
little bumps.
This
every
is
so
why
often,
it's a
right?
joke, as
Mhm.
Wyatt said. Though we're waiting for the end credits of the new Marvel movie.
oh, that was the end credits. Was Lord of the
That-
Rings?
Yeah.
was the big one.
Oh,
That was the
dude.
big,
So,
big
you
secret
understand the
teaser
frustration, right?
that
Yeah.
he built
And-
up for.
And so here's the other thing too. Like, it's kind of been an open secret for a long time, but like Games Workshop has the exclusive rights to create miniatures games for the Lord of the Rings IP.
Well, they bought the
And-
license.
Right. But part of that license is they have to make a new product every so often, which is why you see a new Lord of the Rings models get pooped out like 2 times a year. And they have to like keep messing with it, or else they lose that exclusive license. And the reason it's so frustrating for me is because that is resources that the company is putting into this stuff that nobody really wants or asks for. Nobody really plays anymore. And it's purely just so they can maintain exclusivity to it rather than let another company have it, even though Lord of the Rings it's like a forever IP because it'll forever be beloved or whatever. But as far as like cultural relevance to miniature gaming and nerd culture and stuff, that has been not the forefront for a very long time.
Ready for a
Right.
knife to the face? The
Yeah.
Jackson films are older than 20 years old.
Yeah, a long time, right? I'm also getting a little old.
Damn.
And then the only Lord of the Rings stuff that's been relevant is Rings of Power, which is kind of universally panned. And
So
now,
far. Season
the-
2 might get its redemption arc.
right? Yeah, give them a chance. Which I
Press
will.
X for doubt.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll see what happens, right? Like, but and then we're getting this War of the Rohirrim animated show, which could be really cool, and it looks visually phenomenal. But we'll see. But again, it's just like Lord of the Rings miniature games are just not relevant, and they haven't been in a long time. And like, when I say nobody is buying them, air quotes, I just mean like every single day that a Warhammer store is open, people come into that store and they buy Warhammer 40K and they buy Age of Sigmar. Nobody's buying Lord of the Rings stuff. And
Yep.
they don't stock it in shelves, and nobody's coming into those stores to order it because it's just easier to order it the one model release a year online. And then when they send all the product to stores for the holiday season, they sell one box, and then they have to pack it all up and ship it back to corporate. Like,
Well,
Nobody buys or plays it.
the fact of the matter is that, I mean, their financials, which I have a printout of right here, and I've studied and I've consulted for a bunch of different folks investing money in the hundreds to billions of dollars, is that these financials are ridiculously good. So what we see doesn't translate to this, which I personally don't have an explanation for. So
Yeah, Mike wasn't
the-
here when we broke down the 2024 financial report. It's like, you know,
I don't know.
every piece of advice we've ever given GW, every shot we've tried to call, it's all wrong. We're wrong. We're wrong about everything.
It doesn't matter according to this, 15 sheets of paper right here.
Yeah.
So until everybody changes their habits or what have you, none of what we have to say really matters.
Yeah,
or
we're wrong.
anybody in that chat.
We are universally 100% wrong at all times, according to that sheet of paper.
Yeah, I mean, like they've cornered the market on being able to pluck the heartstrings of nerd collector FOMO, and it's just not going to change because, like, when Rob talks about like deals, boxes, is it worth? Is it not worth? Like, how many are getting allocated to stores and all that? We're like, yeah, that sucks, man. Like, I to this day cannot get a hold of a set of Pariah Nexus cards because
They actually are back in stock
Yep.
on their site right now.
As of now.
Oh.
so I have to order them direct from Games Workshop, which doesn't support my local store.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't help the
believe
local
if
games.
you have ordered with my local store, Bazooka Games, they have some in stock right now too.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Well,
cool.
again, it's not supporting the place where I go and play Warhammer in Patron. And
Correct.
So I'm not going to buy them until I can get them from OBG. And I mean, that's just one out of over a dozen fucking things that we've talked about. But
Yeah.
because of the way that many people in our hobby are, right? And I don't say nerd as derogatory because, like, I'm a fucking nerd and I play this game and I like a bunch of nerdy shit. But typically, they have a compulsion to buy the shiny Goo-Gah thing that they want exactly when they want it, as fast as they can get their hands on it. And so by creating this business model, they've cornered the market. It's the perfect business strategy for them. As much as we hate it, and as much as people might find it unethical or whatever reason, like, the reason they're making so much money is because it fucking works. Like, all those Blood Angel boxes are immediately, they're going to sell out their entire production run, guaranteed.
Already
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, already pre-ordered everything, right? And it's like, people they just don't care enough to be like, I'm not going to buy that unless I can get it from my local store.
Mm-hmm. If you guys don't mind, let's take a quick commercial break, hear from our sponsors, and then come back and switch to our final segment. And we're back. All right. Trying to get everything in this action-packed episode of the Long War. We had one
More action here.
Gosh, this is where the action is, not the GW preview. So we have Mike Hasselback, and I mentioned at the very beginning of the podcast, he posted a picture of the original Demon Hunter Codex, his first codex, and now his most
Nice.
and now his latest codex, which is the Imperial Agents, the same character art on it. So let's kick it over to Haspil. Tell us about this codex and what it means to you as a hobbyist.
Yeah, so the Imperial Agents Codex came out over the last weekend. I have not read the lore. It has some really cool lore, and this is actually a codex I have been waiting for a long time, believe it or not, because I'm that fluff guy who wants to put Death Watch with sisters with Grey Knights, right? And I can do that now, however limited it is. So I won't go into like the Nat's ass details, mostly because I can't. I haven't had a chance to play any games with this. I have built 3 lists, basically trying to see, hey, can I do Death Watch and Grey Knights and Sisters all at once? And the answer is yes, you can totally do that. So I'm just going to hit some quick highlights of stuff that I noticed. Overall, what I think this codex, I think it's a mid codex on its own. So, um, like if you're going to play Imperial agents like on their own with no allies, nothing, it's kind of mid. Where I think this codex is going to shine is if your army has the Imperium keyword, right? They have a little chart based on the battle size of how many retinue units you can take, character units you can take, and requisitioned units you can take. So what I foresee is, say, Astra Militarum has a gap that they're wanting to fill. You know what I mean? They can easily plug in Death Watch or Sisters, or there's almost an entire new faction in here called the oh, it's not the Navis Imperial. I'll get to it. It's the Imperial Fleet essentially. Yeah, that's what they call it, the Imperial Fleet. And those guys are all new. Well, they aren't new in the sense that we've never seen them before, but they are new in the sense that we've never seen them all together before. There's stuff out of like Kill Team Rogue Trader, if you remember that. You know what I mean? That is now in this codex. And I'm kind of hoping they make some of those models available again. Like
Yeah,
the Rogue Trader is in here.
that's
You know
awesome.
what I mean? Along with the Voidsman at Arms, all kinds of different like weird units. So if you ever wanted to play an army that's just like flat out weird, this is the codex for you. So it breaks down into really four primary factions: the Ordo Xenos, Ordo Hereticus, Ordo Malleus, and then the Imperial Fleet. And each one of these has their own like detachment rules, their own enhancements, and about 6 stratagems to each. So you pick, like, when I was building one of my lists to see if I could mix and match everything, I picked Ordo Xenos. So once you pick Ordo Xenos, you're kind of locked into their enhancements, their detachment rules, their stratagems. You can't use the stratagems, even though I might be using a Grey Knight unit or a Sisters unit. You can't use the stratagems for the Order Hereticus or Order Malleus
Yeah,
unless you
it's like
choose.
it's a detachment rule.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So it works really well. And what I'm very curious about is the Imperialis fleet, because I've never seen these guys before. They're essentially all new. The other fleets, the stratagems, sometimes they're the same but by another name. But it's like I recognize stuff out of from the Demon Hunters that's Grey Knight stratagems, or stuff that Grey Knights can do, like Cybolt ammunition, hexagrammatic wards, rites of exorcism, true silver armor. Those are existing stratagems. And then you have stuff like, I'll pick this because Wyatt mentioned it, Gift of the Prescient, which is an enhancement for an Inquisitor. And what it does is once per battle, if the bearer is on the battlefield, you can use the rapid ingress stratagem for 0 CP. And when doing so, you must target a Grey Knights Terminator Squad unit from your army when using that stratagem. That unit can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 3 inches away from all enemy units. So that's your grabbing that home stratagem
Mm-hmm.
enhancement. You know what I mean? Um, So, and Wyatt had talked about that, but these are Terminators, which they can become rock solid if you put an apothecary in there, and a banner bearer. They
I am
can.
Jack's lack of surprise.
What's that?
Said I am Jack's lack of surprise.
But it's kind of the same for the Ordo Xenos and the Ordo Hereticus. Like, I don't know the new sister stratagems, but I would suspect that you're going to see half of the stratagems comes out of the Sisters Codex. My other take on it, this is a negative take, is that they have a generic Inquisitor in here. But the generic Inquisitor is just that. It is a generic Inquisitor. You can't you can't manipulate it to be I'm reminded of like in Chaos, where you could take marks of chaos. That's kind of what I was expecting from this, was that I would be a Hereticus Inquisitor. And they just have an Inquisitor that's like a stat line, you know what I mean? That's your generic Inquisitor, but then you can take, I'm going to make him Ordo Malleus or Ordo Hereticus, and they get additional stuff that's customized to that Ordo. But there's nothing like that. They're just very generic. Um, and then the other named Inquisitors that are locked into the Ordo Malleus or Ordo Xenos or whatever are all singular characters. So you're not going to be spamming those guys. The other thing that I do kind of like is that all the units in here are like broken down by keyword, like retinue or requisitioned. So it's like retinue units they come with the Inquisitor. You know what I mean? But the requisitioned units are what we would call from other armies. They're the Grey Knight Terminators, they're the Sisters, they're all that stuff. The most raw deal, I think the Death Watch got a big raw deal. And that's because I used to play Death Watch. One of the things that really surprised me is all the Death Watch are still firstborn. And that super surprised me. To the point that they re-released the Watch Captain Artemis model as
Oh,
a
yeah.
firstborn model. Like, he didn't get an upgrade. He hasn't crossed the Rubicon. He's just like, I'm like, okay, that's quite interesting that the Death Watch are still firstborn. But in doing so, the Death Watch no longer have most of their options for an army. They just have the Death Watch kill team. That's it. Now, the Death Watch kill team is highly customizable. I was messing around with this in the app, and I think I made 10 unique guys. Like, each guy was different.
Classic. I love it.
So they're highly customizable, but you can't take Terminators anymore. You can't take bikes. You can't take anything but the Death Watch kill team. That's it. That's all you get. So you get the Watch Captain Artemis, a Watch Master, and then the Death Watch kill team, and then the Corvus Blackstar, which I don't know the meta, but I have 3 Corvus Blackstars, so they're all rocking in my list for this. But I don't know if they're just gonna get shot out of the sky the second I put them on the table, or what's going to happen. But I like them. I like the stats of them. It's probably colored by, during one of our Adepticon games, I was playing Death Watch, and our Corvus Blackstar could not be shot down. Like, ridiculous. It was, remember that, Kenny? I think we were playing that game.
I knew exactly what you were talking about.
And it was just dumb. Like, to the point that we were apologizing to our opponent.
Do you remember?
Because we were just like, dude.
Last week when we were talking about Adepticon the year before, when we were playing Cass and we almost beat Tony Kovacs' team, and you were talking about the mistake you made with the Land Raider.
Mm-hmm.
And then that reminded me of the other time we were playing Land Raiders at Adepticon years and years ago. Remember we had 8 Land Raider lists. Yes. I remember that. 8 Land Raiders.
I only remember one thing from that Adepticon, and you're probably going to talk about it.
And so we all, on the table, what we all had was 4 Land Raiders and 2 Demon Princes. That was right. And we were playing the last game. We're doing pretty good. And all we got to do is put the Land Raider there and we win. And I was like, yeah, problem solved, Mike. Mike's like, yeah, but we got to make a dangerous terrain test. It's like, who cares? We will pass this test. I was like, roll the dice, Haspil. He's like, I don't fucking feel comfortable rolling this dice, Kenny. I was like, why are you being ridiculous? Just roll the dice. He rolls it. It's a 1.
1.
I looked at him.
Immobilized. We lose the game.
I was like, okay, fair. You called it. You didn't feel comfortable with it. I pressured you into doing something that you knew wasn't right. I'm sorry. I'll never do that again.
Oh, man.
You remember? You know exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
The assassins get a nice little boost in here. So that's one of the things I foresee. Like, a lot of people are going to take these guys as allies to just unlock an assassin. You're going to pay an Inquisitor tax to unlock an assassin in your Imperial list. You get a Sisters Battle Squad. You can take the Immolator, which is kind of cool. But yeah, the actual participation of the other squads are very, very limited. You know what I mean? And that's okay. That's fine. The Imperial fleet has that's why I'm like, well, those guys are really cool because they have like navigators, they have the rogue trader, they have. I'm trying to look at these other guys because I wasn't going to buy the models. I was going to try to use my old Kasserkin models to proxy them. But they have like these new guys, and they may not be new. I just don't. But they're like called subductors and exaction squads and vigilant squads. And when you get the combat patrol, that's what they come with. But I was super excited about the Voidsmen at Arms just because I really like those models and I could never get a hold of those. So I'm hoping they're gonna I'm hoping they did re-release those. They have the Imperial Navy breachers, they have all that stuff in there. So this will shine, this codex will dominate in secondary games like boarding action. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing boarding actions, this is a phenomenal codex. But in regular 40K, that's why I think it's just kind of mid. But I think that people are going to use that. You're going to see a lot of this book being used for allies. That's essentially where it shines, is because they do have a ton of options. Like if you need and maybe it's because I've been playing Grey Knights too long, but some of these squads really looked inexpensive to me. Because if you needed like 10 power armor guys with power weapons and bolt guns that can shred people, right? You just take 10 Death Watch. And you can kit them up however you want because there's no points, right? So you can make a pretty angry squad for like 200 points.
Love it. That makes me
Yeah,
happy.
and I need to dig into it more, but that's that's kind of what
It's exciting.
I walked away with.
It's exciting to see Mike Haspil excited about Agents of Imperium Codex.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I like it. I got to find where I have misplaced half my sisters in my Death Watch though, because I was like trying to make lists out of stuff I had, and I'm like, oh, they're right here. No, they were not. So I don't know where I stashed those fools.
Like, under a fucking section in your basement with like 30 other board game purchases you've made over the last couple of years.
Yes. Well, I started clearing up some stuff, and I found, just to give you an idea of how out of control I was, I found 3 Corbulos. Like, like new in box, like still in the blister.
All right.
So he was going. So whatever he see when he'd buy it, so somebody else couldn't have it.
Yeah.
He's just taking them off the shelf, bro. He was like, "Fuck this guy."
I think what would happen is that it would be like 6 months or a year, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to build blood ravens or blood angels, and I gotta have Corbulo, right? And then I would buy a Corbulo, forgetting that I already bought him.
Oh my god, that's so hoarder.
It is hoarder behavior, but they're all metal. Like I have Astaroth the Grim metal.
That makes it even more hoarder. You're like, it is hoarder.
That's a premium now.
Let me say it back to you the way you said it. Yeah, it is hoarder, but they're all metal. like, oh, okay,
that makes everything better, right?
Yeah, well, but they're all. You don't understand, Kenny. They're all metal.
Well, to give you another idea, how hoarder I am, and this is actually a problem. I filled a garbage bag and a half with just sprues, like
cashed sprues.
What do you mean cashed?
Cashed, like they're dead. They're empty.
Right, but they weren't empty. They just had like all the alternate bits that
they had like grenades and shit on them that you were like,
grenades
and
claws and helmets, and I'm like, one day I might need these. And I finally threw that crap out, and it was a garbage bag and a half.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the definition of a hoarder too. Like, it is. You don't throw things away because you might need them.
Because I might need them.
That's the actual.
But you know what? The joke's going to be on me when I'm trying to build a firstborn Death Watch guy and he doesn't have a backpack. And I'll be like, no, I had sprues of backpacks.
3D printing, dog.
Yeah, I was like, I think you'll be okay nowadays.
I think so. I think I'll be fine.
Yeah, my dad has like 65 ham radios, dude. It's like
Well, you can't 3D print those yet.
No, but like he's like, I might need these one day. I'm like, that has never. Okay.
Yeah. I just, in a way, Games Workshop helped me by getting rid of Firstborn, because I was just like, all this stuff that I was like saving for one day, I'm gonna make an army that does this. I finally was able to just go, you know what? I can't even sell this stuff. Like
We're-
nobody wants.
I mean, we
it.
all are a little hoarder when it comes to our collecting, but
Yeah.
you're at a different level. Garbage bag.
But I
and a
am
half.
excited for this Imperial Agents thing. I will definitely, once I can find where I stashed them, put together a Death Watch Sisters Grey Knight representative army.
Hell yeah.
With
That's-
like 3 Corvus Black Stars and a couple of Sisters tanks and go to town.
Classic Mike Haspil. I'm excited for that, dude.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
it'll probably get rocked, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it. I don't expect it. Dude, to get it's for Warhammer 40K is about preparedness. The best you ever were at this game is when you were prepared. It's that simple. You're not prepared anymore, but you still like the game. So
It's just roll down to the Haven, roll some dice. And my games take 4 or 5 hours now because I'm BSing, talking.
like, I
It's
mean,
just
dude, I've only played
awesome.
I haven't barely played any 10th edition. It doesn't hold me back. You know what I mean? Like
Right. Yeah, it's fun.
I acknowledge my preparedness level is subpar, and I do so I prepare it in other ways. I prepare by reading my rules, making little index cards for myself, little like talking to my friends who play meta armies and like, give me the cliff notes, dog. Like what's the wombo combo I got to keep an eye on? You know what I mean? Like it's just that's it. So I prepare where
Yeah.
I can, and I go and I roll the dice and see if I can win some games.
What I do like about this Dex is if you're somebody who's locked into an army and you don't have a ton of funds, right? But you might have some old Space Marines lying around. Well, now they can all be Death Watch.
That's actually a really good point.
So if you ever wanted to, I don't want to play Grey Knights. I don't want to play Sisters, but I do think that tank is pretty cool, and I could paint 10 Sisters to go with it. Right? That this codex unlocks that.
I like
ability.
that little a la carte 40K.
Yeah, a little bit of this, and you can paint unique figures, and you
makes
want to
sense.
use your stuff from Blackstone Fortress in a game, you can.
Because that's
and
like,
stuff like that.
Kill Team is a game, is that right? Like, and this
Right, exactly.
This is so it's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, we did it. We put over an hour down. We even got Rob to frustratingly wake up from his nap, come in here.
No, the nap was this afternoon. I've been a consummate professional for the past hours.
So
Consummate. I said consummate V's.
Consummate V's.
So I mean, it was a pretty wild show, all things considered. So I started over by Caspel to send us home with a quote.
All right. But I never liked Columbus. In Napoli, a lot of people are not so happy for Columbus because he was from Genoa.
I don't know that one.
Sopranos.
Oh, because Wyatt was watching Sopranos. Or was that just off? Was that not planned?
That was off the top of my head. I didn't really think of anything.
Oh my god, it's
But I
crazy.
just saw that episode today.
Wyatt just started watching Sopranos. So
Oh, it's
Oh man.
you weren't even here for that. I remember now. That's crazy. It's wild. Well, let's close the show out officially. Wyatt, you want to take us out of here?
Rob.
Oh, so I do this now? Okay. I was not prepared.
Oh, it's supposed to only be movie quotes. Okay, I will correct that in the future.
How dare you?
I don't watch anything anymore. I'm terrible.
Next time you just gotta quote something from the Sopranos movie.
from the many saints. Okay, I have something I need to confess here, and I'm not proud of this. So I'm watching the many saints in Newark, and I go, and I kind of liked it, but it was really kind of a setup to set up that the black guy who was setting up his own little empire. I felt the movie was more about him than the Sopranos guys. But I'm like sitting there and I'm talking to my brother. He's big into the Sopranos. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't get, like, I think the title's cool. I just don't get why they call it the Many Saints of Newark. And he just goes, Multi Santi. And I'm like, God damn it. I was just like, I'm an idiot. So Yeah, I'm not proud of. Not my proudest moment.
I literally don't know what any of this means. So you're
Oh,
smart.
multisanti means many saints
Latin.
in
Yeah.
Italian.
Sure, but like, what's
Wow.
what's the significance of that as the answer to your question? I don't understand.
Oh, because it's about the multisantis really more than the Sopranos.
What is the Multisantis?
They're another family that was in the Sopranos crew.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for answering that question.
Mm-hmm.
Rob.
Oh, this is my cue. So that's it for this one, y'all. Thanks for watching. Make sure to head on over to thelongwar.net for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.